Welcome to the Kitsap Matters podcast. In each episode, we discuss the people, places, and things that make Kitsap County unique, covering local entertainment, restaurants, business, government, and anything else we find interesting, troubling, or just plain amusing. This is a community-focused podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise, and since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment advisor representative of and advisory services offered through USA Financial Securities, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities. All right, welcome to another episode of the Kitsap Matters podcast. I'm Kevin Campbell, and I'm excited to introduce today Steven Barela. Steven is a trusted insurance agent with Farmers Insurance, known for his dedication to protecting what matters most to his clients. With a strong background in customer service and a genuine passion for helping people, Steven brings both professionalism and heart to everything he does. Through his work at Farmers, Steven focuses on providing personalized insurance solutions from home and auto coverage to life and business protection. His approach is centered on education, clarity, and making sure his clients feel confident in their coverage and their future. Steven, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you also do some unusual stuff as well, like we were just figuring out recently when you were looking at doing insurance for my book.
Yeah. Unusual stuff? What do you...
Well, I just mean like something like people don't necessarily think about that. That's not, I mean, like home, auto, business, that's all usual
Right.
kind of stuff. But
Right.
every now and again you run into something a little strange.
So I actually, within my agency, I tend to focus on business insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, absolutely. When you're thinking about businesses, you especially authorship, right? You don't think about business insurance for writing a book, but it exists.
Yeah.
And so we do run across interesting business models and what you wouldn't think of as business insurance occasionally, as we did with you. So.
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing. Thanks for your help with that. So you're, as we were talking about before the podcast started here, you're relatively new to the Kitsap area. Mm-hmm. You want to tell us a little bit about what brought you here and
Sure.
how you ended up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico. After I went to University of Mexico. Yeah,
Food.
Very, very good food there. Some of the best in the world, if I may say so.
Yeah.
I went to University of New Mexico for college. Ended up moving to Colorado Springs, where I met my wife. I was a restaurant owner there. Ended up selling my restaurant during COVID for all the difficulty that arose during that time.
Tough business to be in. That's a tough business in good times.
Yes, it is.
It's a challenging business.
Margins are very small.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think I'd get back into it if I ever had the chance, unless I earned enough money and just wanted to do it for fun. Because it is actually a pretty fun business to do if you like to be on your feet and constantly moving. So we sold that business. My wife had always talked she wanted to move to Florida, so we actually ended up doing that together before we were married. Got married, had twins, realized that we were a little too far away from family.
Right.
When the twins came along, and my wife is actually from Washington. She's from the Aberdeen area. Grew up in a little place called Wishkop, and so we tried to figure out. I had transitioned into insurance after COVID. Found a way to move up here, which was essentially buy an existing book of business. We had to have the financial means to do that, obviously, and so that's what we did. We purchased a Farmers Insurance agency and closer to my wife's family now, and that's what brought me here.
And how old are the kids now?
They're three.
Three. Oh, that's got to be a handful.
Twin 3-year-olds. I have a boy and a girl.
Yeah, we talked about, I don't know what it's like in your house when we were having kids, and my youngest is now 20 over there doing the video stuff. But when we were having kids, they talked about the terrible twos, and we were like, no, it wasn't the terrible twos, it was the terrible threes.
It's the terrible three.
Yeah, right? And you've got two of them.
Most certainly is.
So as a father and someone who's raising kids in this community, what values do you hope to pass down, or what is it about Kitsap, or how to tie all that together? It's an interesting time, right? So you moved, kids are growing up here. What's that like these days, being raising a family in Kitsap?
Well, to be frank, we moved up here sight unseen. We had no idea what was going to happen.
So when you bought the agency, that's what brought you to into this county? So you basically bought it and went, hey, we're going to show up and see what this thing looks like?
Yeah. So
well, there was a little bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah, it was most certainly a leap of faith. My district manager, who's based in Auburn, she did fly me up here and kind of gave me a tour, and I actually met with the previous agent owner, Shane McGraw, well known in Kitsap.
Oh, I know Shane.
And so they gave me a tour, and I honestly think it was one of the best things we could have done. I fell in love with Kitsap.
It's a wonderful place.
It's a very small town feeling, which was what we prefer. When I was in Colorado, we lived in Colorado Springs, and at the time it was the fastest growing city in America. So we were told, and it was feeling a lot like Denver, and that was one of the reasons why we decided to get out. We wanted the small town feeling, and we found that here. And so, there are some things with the economy which feel like they're kind of lagging behind a little bit, but I think it's getting better. And being a part of the community, I think it's our responsibility to kind of egg that growth on, if you will. So yeah. And
you've been back in Colorado and other areas. It seems like from what conversations you and I have had, you've always had kind of a strong sense of community involvement. So was there someone in your family maybe growing up who influenced that, or is that something that's innately yours, or?
So I come from Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is a fairly small town.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, it was about 60,000 people, which isn't, I guess, that small compared to others, but
that's still pretty small.
Yeah, everybody knew each other, though, is essentially what I'm getting at, and so I kind of understood what it meant to be in a small town where everybody knew each other, and I don't know, when I started getting integrated into the Kitsap community, I joined the Greater Kitsap Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm. Great group.
I joined a B&I group. I recently joined the Rotary, and once I started to meet more people, I realized, especially with small business owners, that it's just really such a small community, and everybody knows everybody, and the people who are successful in the community are involved in the community, and they want to promote growth and get involved with the politics and how Bremerton is growing and how Poulsbo is growing and stuff like that. And so
because that comes with challenges as well, right?
It does, yeah. And we intend to be here long term. We have no intention of leaving, and so I think it's honestly, as a responsible citizen and a small business owner, I feel like it's my responsibility to be involved in that growth and make sure that it is the community that I want to raise my children in.
Yeah.
So
tell us about what part of your work, as far as the insurance, what brings you the most satisfaction in what you do there?
It's entirely based in helping people, because I think there's a good portion of the population that feels like insurance is a racket,
mm-hmm.
Which it can be, but it does help people in dire times of need. We get phone calls every day. They're like, wow, I'm spending too much. I've never filed a claim in my life, which is actually a good thing. If you've never filed a claim in your life, you're very lucky. But if you ever have a home and you lose if you ever have a fire and you lose your home entirely, that insurance is essentially going to save you. So it can seem like a racket, but it's extremely important to have. And so I enjoy conveying the message of how important insurance is and helping people understand that, and then also trying to get the coverage in place so that it makes financial sense for our clients. If we can, we're never going to sell a more expensive policy just for the sake of making more money. If I can find you cheaper coverage, I absolutely will. But I also want to make sure that I'm not sacrificing, putting you liable for something. I'm not going to recommend that you have state minimums on your auto insurance,
right?
Because if you get in an accident, you're at fault, you're going to be screwed. So.
We were just having that conversation recently with some young folks going, yeah, you don't want state minimums because you get in an accident. I mean, what's state minimums right now are like 20, 25 grand or something like that,
25,
right?
50, yeah.
Which is, that's incredibly low. I mean, try buying a decent car. If you destroy somebody else's car and you can only pay for $25,000 to replace, I mean, there's, how many cars these days are on the market? A new car is under 25,000. That's not many.
Not many.
You get into an accident and take out 2 Teslas, you got a problem.
Well, not only that, but if you're talking about injuries as well,
yeah.
Injuries is really where the big money comes in. If you have injuries, you're talking potentially hundreds of thousands that you can be responsible for, and essentially make you bankrupt. Like so.
Insurance is expensive until it's not.
Exactly.
Right. So it's something to think about, and this is, I don't do the same kind of insurance that you do, but as a financial advisor, we do some life insurance and things like that, but typically more as a financial strategy than so much as an income replacement, although we do some of that. But so I'm licensed as well for insurance, and one of the things that I always talk about is that insurance is about transfer of risk, and this is something great for, as you were sitting here talking about, people say, hey, insurance is a scam. It's not. It's about a transfer of risk. And this is something for consumers. Obviously, you know this, so I'm not telling it to you, but for anybody listening to the show, insurance is about transfer of risk. It's about transferring a risk that either you can't afford to take, like the scenario you just talked about with your house burning down. If my house burned down, I can't write a check to replace it.
Right.
But so it's about transferring a risk that you either can't afford to take, or one that you don't want to take, and pooling resources with others to cover that. That's exactly what insurance is. It goes back to I want to say Rome. Insurance is not a recent construct. It's been around for thousands, just like annuities, same kind of thing. These things go back thousands of years to the idea of pooling risk with others.
Absolutely.
So there's it's just a different way of thinking about it, because you're right. It does seem. I think about how much I pay in insurance, just like I think about how much I pay in taxes, between homeowners insurance and auto insurance and motorcycle insurance, and then insurance. It's a lot of money, especially like health insurance these days. That's crazy.
Health insurance is crazy. If you're a real estate investor, your taxes and your insurance, that's like 2 of your biggest gripes.
Yep, exactly. And so it's. So I totally get the feeling of, hey, insurance is expensive, but once you have a claim or need the insurance, it's suddenly very cheap.
Right.
So it suddenly becomes very, very cheap. All right, so you talk about educating clients being a big part of what you do. What do you wish people understood more about insurance?
One of the biggest things is not to be a serial claim filer, if you will. We also get calls on a pretty regular basis wondering why their rates have increased. Well, you filed 4 home claims, which were like $2,000-3,000 each. And now you're going to pay for it in the long run when you could have potentially just taking care of that claim yourself. So we always recommend, regardless of the situation, that our clients call us before they file a claim to let them know, the potential long-term repercussions of filing a small claim, whether that's home or auto. It doesn't really matter. If you have the financial means to take care of something small, it could be potentially smarter to do it yourself, rather than to file a bunch of small claims and then pay for it in the long run. Because even if you decide to shop around, because you have claims, you're going to have higher rates with other companies as well. And so it's not just us you're going to deal with, it's another company.
That's a really good point that people should understand about. It depends, because that changes from different types of insurance. And what I mean by that, like, if I have my medical insurance, if I go to my doctor once a year or 5 times a year, my rate doesn't change, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true when it comes to auto insurance and homeowners insurance. So people often think about it, medical insurance, and go, well, I have insurance, I'm going to use it, right? So I'm going to go to the doctor, I'm going to use that. I have no problem with making an insurance claim on my medical insurance because, one, I pay a insane amount of money for it, and two, it's just the way it functions. But if you take that same mentality into your auto and homeowners of, hey, I'm going to file a claim anytime something happens, your rates are definitely going to go up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good lesson there. Don't treat your homeowners and your auto insurance like a medical insurance. So you run an agency. That means you wear a lot of hats. Now I know you were also an entrepreneur before, running a business, running a restaurant. That's wearing a lot of hats. Which one's harder? Which, from a management standpoint, which one's worse, restaurant or insurance agency? And what does that look like these days for you? As far as, wearing a lot of hats.
So I'm just going to be entirely frank here. I have a wonderful wife who does a lot of the back end stuff that I just don't like to do.
Gotcha.
She does our books and our payroll, and honestly, I don't think I can do it without her. So since I do have a wonderful wife that does a lot of things I don't like to do, I feel like the insurance business is easier in that aspect. I used to just, for the restaurant stuff, I used to just pay somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
But luckily, because she's able to do those things, we're able to save some money there, and so yeah, it's an entirely different industry, and the challenges are different.
Yeah.
So
the insurance industry, like, gosh, every industry these days is evolving. How do you see things like AI or online quoting tools, or what do you see in your side, in your industry? Like, obviously we see it, we're a wealth management firm here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on in my space with AI. What do you see coming in your space?
So we use AI on a daily basis. It's so much easier and quicker to utilize it than not to. And honestly, for us, it's the law of large numbers. So the more people we can quote, the more money we're going to make. And so if we can save time on an email by simply shooting it through AI, we're absolutely going to do that, and we do that all the time. Rather than me trying to, we enjoy being very professional and ensuring that the things that we say are correct and they're worded right, and I can sit there for 15 minutes making sure that an email is worded correctly, or I can just throw it into AI and then proofread it and make sure it says exactly what I need it to.
Yeah.
And it'll take me 1 minute to do that. So that's one way that we're utilizing it.
Leverages your time for sure.
Absolutely. Time is money in our business, and so my wife has also used AI for marketing purposes, and so it makes everything a lot more streamlined. And honestly, I think the businesses these days that are not using AI, they're going to suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot of people out there that are going, oh, hey, you're going to get replaced by AI, or this industry's going to get replaced, or that industry's going to get replaced. And there certainly are some that I think are more apt than others, or more at risk than others of being replaced. But I think people who are, my take on it is, they said the same thing when personal computers came along, right? Yeah. And here we are many decades later. So is there a risk in that? Sure, but I think realistically what it's more likely to do, at least in the short term, in this case I think short term is at least a decade, is people who implement it because it's still also very inaccurate.
Sure.
Right? So you can't rely on it, but what can help you do is, as you were just talking about, going, rather than me thinking exactly how I want to word this, I can throw it into something and say, hey, here's how I need to respond to that, help me out here. And then you can edit it from there, right? It's a time saver, right? You can use it to leverage. But I don't see it, for a lot of things, I don't see it replacing things that are being done. It can be used. I was just talking about this on another podcast recently. My former life before this was technology, before finance. I was a techie, and so I mean I'm still relatively technical even now as far as implementing technology tools in what we do here at the practice. Right? Yeah. We're sitting here in the studio in the office. But the thing I've always encouraged people to do is use technology to enhance the human experience, not replace it. If you try to use it to replace it, it usually fails. Use it to enhance it, and that's what we're talking about here. So it's interesting. I'm always finding it interesting to see what people are doing in the AI world. All right, so we've talked about family, we've talked about occupation. Now we're going to go into recreation. So when you're not chasing 2 3-year-olds and dealing with your business, what are you doing to unwind?
Well, our family certainly enjoys the outdoors as much as possible. It's been a little bit difficult with the toddlers to do as much as you want to. They turned 3 in March, and so hopefully we're going to go on a camping trip soon and kind of see how that works out. My son tends to just take off. He doesn't care if anybody's around, and so we're a little worried if we're camping and all of a sudden we have no idea where he is.
Ready for him.
But I'm actually so I spend a lot of my free time playing volleyball, and I'm pretty big into fitness, and I'm also a coach. So
I think that's right. I think the first time we met was we used the same trainer. The first time we met was at BC Fitness.
Absolutely. Yep. So Brett at BC Fitness, absolutely. And I'm going to be assistant coaching for Olympic College for the volleyball team this upcoming season. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've been coaching for about 14 years, but this will be the first time I coach at the college level. So pretty excited.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Any hobbies, routines, things like that you guys like doing here, specifically Kitsap related?
Well, being a fairly new business owner, we have not had a lot of time to spend recreationally outside of volleyball. Like my wife also plays volleyball, so
gotcha.
So we have done a lot of that in the Kitsap community. But if you have recommendations as far as wonderful spots to take my family, we're going to try and spend a lot more time doing that this summer.
You're going to listen to the podcast. This is one of the questions coming up. Is we always ask for tips on the podcast.
Yeah. So I need to listen to the podcast, obviously. But yeah, the summers here are just absolutely gorgeous.
There's nothing better. I was just so I'm also a member of Rotary, and I was at my Rotary meeting this morning. I was talking to another Rotarian there. And I asked him, how are things going? He said, well, we're going to try to stick around this summer. He's like, last summer we ended up traveling elsewhere the whole summer.
Right.
I'm like, and he's like, but I didn't want to. He's like, why would you leave here in the summer? There's not a better place to be than Kitsap County or the Pacific Northwest in the summer. It's just one of the most amazing places in the world as far as weather is concerned in the summer. It's glorious.
We do have kayaks, and we did not get a chance. We bought them right at the end of the summer last season, and we didn't get a chance to use them, and so that is one of the big things we're going to.
That'll be fun.
Here, so, yeah.
All right, so insurance. Obviously, we're going to shift into money right now. So insurance plays a big role in people's financial security. So, what's a financial lesson you try to share with your clients?
A financial lesson that I share with my clients. That's actually a really good question.
Well, I may just put you on the spot.
You did.
Sorry about that.
No, it's totally fine. I often take the opportunity. To be frank, I have a considerable number of high-end clients who are real estate investors, and so I often take the opportunity to allow them to teach me about finance. When it comes to insurance, I can totally let them know when they're at risk. But more recently, I think I've been paying attention to what my life long term is going to look like. And so, as a business owner, as you know, retirement is a big piece of that, because if we don't form our retirement plan as business owners, It's not like
There's not one out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody else is doing it.
Yeah, so that's actually, my wife and I have been talking a lot about that recently, and I think I mentioned to you last time I was in your office that we'd like to come meet with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to.
Because that's I think a lesson that my wife has owned her own business before this for about 9 years, and so neither of us necessarily have we do own a couple properties and stuff like that, but we need to be taught about that, and I'm just being frank about it. So.
Yeah, so it's interesting too when we talk about the word retirement. I talk about this a lot too. Is it's people's take on retirement is different these days than it has been in the past. We were talking about this recently that retirement used to be that you'd retire because your body was broken, basically, right? And then you would retirement was what you did between the day you stopped working and the day you died, and that usually wasn't that long a period of time.
Right.
And now people think about retirement, you could have a 40-year retirement, a 30-year retirement, with lifespans as they are these days. So, what would you say worries your clients most when it comes to protecting their financial future from a protection standpoint?
From a every client is different. Our ideal client is somebody who absolutely cares about their future and their assets, and that's willing to have the conversation. Because inevitably, we have clients that simply just want the cheapest price and they don't care about the protection and they just want to be big along the road. That's not our ideal client.
Yeah.
We want to have the conversation with people that actually care about their assets and their future. And so, I think I really enjoy having the conversation with people that like to pick apart their policies and know what every single coverage is. It's pretty complex. If you go in,
it really is.
Yeah, if you're talking about an admitted carrier that has all of these extra bundled in coverages, there's a whole ton of coverages that I would say probably 98% of people have no idea what they mean. And so I actually really like having the conversation and breaking down every single coverage and what they mean. And so those people that are willing to have those conversations are the people that I like to talk about life insurance for, because we're going to ensure that if something happens that their family's protected. A lot of people don't realize that one of their biggest assets is the ability to earn income. And if the primary bread earner passes away, the family at that point might be in a really bad situation because the future income the high potential is no longer there.
Yeah. And especially assuming that you're in good health, life insurance is cheap.
Right. Yeah. Compared to the benefit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a policy that I bought right when we started having kids, so it's coming up. It's not too far from the end of that policy, but I have several others as well. And it's $1 million policy that's $100 a month or something like that, right? And that's $100 a month for 20 years for $1 million. If something happens to me, that's cheap.
Right.
It really is.
Absolutely.
Now the downside is that in order to get anything, I have to die in the next couple of years. So,
exactly.
That's not part of the plan.
No.
Right. I'll be glad to have paid those premiums not to have died.
Again, though, if you didn't use the insurance, consider yourself lucky.
Right. Exactly. Well, and as again I mentioned earlier, I do insurance here as well. We've lost a couple of clients over the years. I've been doing this we're in our 16th year in business. We've lost a couple of clients on the way, which just after a while it's going to happen. It didn't happen to us for a lot of years, and then all of a sudden we lost several in a pretty quick run, where we had clients die, and not a single person has come to me and said, "I wish my spouse didn't have as much insurance." Nobody's come to me and said, "Yeah, I wish we didn't have these insurance policies."
Right.
Right. So life insurance is cheap, folks. Make sure you're covered, because that's in the insurance game. Life insurance is definitely one of the ones that you need, especially if you're the primary breadwinner. You got kids at home, all that kind of stuff. Spouse, kids, mortgages, all that stuff. It's cheap.
Absolutely.
Okay, so last question. knowing that you're relatively new to Kitsap, you may not have an answer for this one.
Okay.
And this is where, when you said earlier, I need some tips. This is where the tips come from. The last question we always ask everybody is best kept secret in Kitsap County, right? Like and it could be like recently we got a cocktail at a local bar, which was the Pear something Sonia Divino here in Poulsbo down on Front Street, and we'll get restaurants, we'll get hikes, we'll get views, we'll get a business. What do you think is one of the best kept secrets in Kitsap County?
Well, I'm a huge foodie. Coming from Santa Fe, New Mexico, there's a lot of renowned restaurants in Santa Fe, and I was a restaurant owner. I lived in Florida in a place called Gulf Breeze, and one of our biggest gripes with Gulf Breeze was there just wasn't a ton of great food there. So when I came to Kitsap, that's usually, we like to eat out and have great food, and so that's usually one of the first things we think to is we're looking for the best restaurant. It's been difficult. And I'm sure this is probably not a best kept secret, but I'm hopefully moving my office right near Oak Table. And tell you what, I have never had a bad experience or a bad dish with Oak Table. You go there on a Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. and the place is packed.
Wow.
So if you have you been there?
I have not. Somebody recommended it to me not too long ago, and we were trying to go for we were trying to book a table for I want to say it was Mother's Day or something like that, and they were like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, no.
I didn't plan well enough in advance for that one.
So chorizo omelet is
now you're talking.
Yeah, is my favorite dish. So yeah, Oak Table. If you haven't had Oak Table, highly recommend it.
All right, we'll go check it out. And where can people find out more about you and about your agency?
So come say hi. I'm a big networker in Kitsap, but we potentially will have a brand new location. We're moving next to Movement Mortgage, right there going up to Oak Table. There's a spot right next to Movement Mortgage. We should be filling that in September. Come say hi to us. Otherwise, www.barela-agency.com. You can connect with us there. We have a Facebook page that we're fairly active on as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for spending some time with me here today. It's been fun getting to know you a little bit better and getting to know a little bit more about your backstory. That's going to wrap it for another episode of the Kitsap Matters podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us today, and we'll see you on the next episode. This is a community-focused podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise, and since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment advisor representative of and advisory services offered through USA Financial Securities, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities.